A kick streamer is facing 20 years in a South Korean prison after filming himself harassing women, trashing businesses, and disrespecting.
American influencer wants to be famous, but now he's probably.
They say karma always sends the bill, but Johnny Somali just got handed an invoice so outrageous it could bankrupt a billionaire. South Korean courts didn't just fine him, they obliterated him with a staggering $10 million penalty. That's right, $10 million. You can practically hear his lawyer choking on the paperwork while his accountant's blood pressure skyrockets. This isn't the type of fine that ruins your credit. It's the kind that buries your entire existence in financial quicksand. And no, this isn't some random twist of fate.
That extends the whole trial process by easily 2 to 3 months. So if he just pleaded guilty to that, things would be over pretty quickly. He would get a sentence and he would at least know what his fate is. But now they're deciding to extend the process for no real upside. And by him not pleading guilty, that just makes the sentence even harsher.
Ramzi Khalid Ismail, better known as Johnny Somali, built his whole persona on spitting in the face of decency. For years, he turned the planet into his own twisted reality show, traveling from country to country, leaving nothing but chaos, outrage, and bans in his wake. He disrespected Japanese commuters by cracking jokes about Hiroshima and Nagasaki on camera. He mocked Korean war memorials dedicated to tragic history as if pain was just another prop for his live streams. He poured noodles on store counters, cussed out clerks like it was entertainment, and strutted around with that red MAGA cap as if a slogan could shield him from centuries-old codes of respect and honor.
Today, at least, he was very serious. So, currently he's facing 8 counts, or 8 charges, and 4 of which are obstruction of businesses, 2 of which are misdemeanors. He pled guilty to all 6 of those charges. Then you have the 2 big charges, which are the deepfakes charges, and the deepfake charges are for distributing.
The empire of chaos he built has officially collapsed, and this isn't a soft landing, it's a nosedive into financial ruin. Now Johnny Somali's been handed what feels like a loaded gun with a neon sticky note slapped on it. Pay up, or your next season is behind bars for life. The South Korean courts didn't mince words. Somali gets a suspended sentence only if he somehow coughs up $10 million. And let's be real, anyone with a calculator and a shred of common sense knows that isn't happening. His streaming money dried up months ago. Twitch booted him. YouTube slammed the door shut, and even the sketchy streaming platforms that usually welcome controversy have started flinching at his name. Every site that cuts ties pushes him closer to that cold gray prison cell waiting on the horizon. Prosecutors, led by a shark of a veteran with a win rate north of 90%, aren't interested in mercy.
For people out there, this is the sentencing range before today. It changes wildly, and you're going to see it in the best way. And that's the best way for me and those who want Johnny Somali convicted, and the worst way for Johnny Somali after this one is.
This isn't about giving him a slap on the wrist. It's about making an example out of him. One legal expert even spelled it out. Yeah, they need to drop something severe here, and that's before we even get into the other ticking legal time bombs waiting under his feet. Somali can try spinning his narrative on Rumble or whatever half-dead site still lets him log in, but the stakes aren't shifting one bit. And if he can't pay, and unless he starts live streaming inside Fort Knox, he can't, then his little taste of freedom is about to vanish.
Ramzi Khalid Ismail has been hit with a new criminal charge. That's right, as of 2 days ago, on the 25th of July of 2025, we have a new criminal charge for Johnny Somali, aka Ram.
South Korea doesn't do sympathy sentencing. You don't cry broke and get a pat on the back, you get decades, maybe a whole lifetime in a cell. And unlike in the US, where a slick lawyer and a sob story about childhood might win you leniency here, judges aren't streaming for clout and the courtroom isn't waiting to be trolled. One wrong move, one missed payment, and Somali goes from global troll to global cautionary tale. A living warning shot for every wannabe shock streamer who thinks Asia is just a backdrop for their viral stunts.
Merging in a charge. It is atypical for this to happen once, but it is completely unprecedented from the people I've talked to, lawyers, others in this process, to see this many merged into the case, which really means they are hitting him and with needles and needles and needles.
What's truly insane is how long Johnny Somali floated above consequences, like he was untouchable, immune to gravity. He strutted through airports with swagger, dropped half-baked apology videos like they were Instagram stories, and even laughed at his own captors while cuffed in the back of a police car. He once bragged to his American followers, "I won't face real punishment, I'm an American citizen." And he acted like it too.
A trend that I called out in the beginning, and I said this would happen, and exactly as I predicted, we are seeing new charges added right before each court date. Every single court.
Somali actually showed up to his South Korean court date over an hour late, rocking that same infamous red MAGA hat, reportedly still buzzing from a late-night bender the evening before. He wasn't walking into a courtroom. He looked like a man stumbling into an after-party, still convinced his follower count made him invincible. But here's the thing. Reality doesn't bend to clout. The Korean public wasn't buying his act anymore. From online mobs to angry crowds in the streets, people made it their mission to humble him. Hard.
So we just got out of Johnny Somali's third court day here in the beautiful yet rainy Seoul, South Korea. And it's safe to say, last time things went terrible for him. Today things went awful, and honestly kind of embarrassing because a lot of the stuff they did not make sense whatsoever. Clearly, he was way more locked in. He realized how much he screwed up now it seems like, and he's realizing, uh-oh, I might be stuck in...
Social media exploded with whispers of an actual bounty on his head, and the outrage spread so far that even South Korea's National Assembly had to debate how to stop American pranksters from treating Seoul like the world's biggest unsupervised frat party. And here's where the story veers off from a cautionary tale into a full-blown fever dream.
Somali is frequently getting arrested in foreign countries for his on-stream behavior, but they always let him go. With the amount of sentences this guy's avoided.
Just when people thought the dust might finally settle, Johnny Somali's rap sheet ballooned from petty stunts and obstruction charges into something far darker, spreading propaganda and even allegations tied to explicit content involving minors. But then, the whispers got louder, and what they suggested made his street-level trolling look almost tame.
Turd. His name is Johnny Somali. Well, that's not his actual name. His real name...
Behind closed doors, Korean law enforcement started buzzing about Somali allegedly dipping into AI deepfakes, not just as some twisted novelty, but as a weapon. The rumors point to him using AI-generated videos to pressure, silence, or straight-up blackmail people who dared to cross him. Imagine that, chaos moving from live streams into a digital underworld of extortion. And maybe you've already caught wind of the biggest rumor of them all. A female Korean streamer supposedly appearing in an explicit AI video with Somali's fingerprints smeared all over the scheme. If that accusation sticks, prosecutors could tack on another 7 years to his sentence. 7 years on top of the mountain he's already facing.
Anyway, Johnny Somali was arrested partially for his own safety because after days of him streaming himself being incredibly rude and disruptive in South Korea, there were literally hundreds of Asian people on the street, all hunting down a black guy.
Nobody really knows how deep the rabbit hole goes, but the suggestion is terrifyingly simple. Johnny Somali wasn't just pulling dumb pranks for clicks. He may have been running a digital blackmail operation hidden beneath the noise of his public circus. For a guy who couldn't even keep his streams live without getting banned, Somali somehow positioned himself at the center of scandals that sound more like the plot of a Bond villain than a broke streamer with a camera.
Police had been looking for an excuse to bring him down for a long time, and finally he did something.
The harder Johnny Somali's defense team scrambles, the more charges keep raining down like a storm with no end in sight. Obstruction, offensive behavior, lewd acts, propaganda, digital exploitation. The prosecutors could honestly invent a whole new genre of crime just by reading off his alleged offenses, and the cases aren't abstract, they're personal. One furious parent from Lotta World claims Somali's twisted text-to-speech donations were so graphic, so explicit, that they're now demanding the court hand him the absolute maximum penalty possible. That's not just outrage, that's a family saying his content crossed into unforgivable territory. Then comes the deepfake scandal, and suddenly this isn't about silly stunts or cultural disrespect anymore. This is about alleged victims stepping forward, lawsuits lining up, and a legal battlefield that could drag on for years. And yet, every single time it looks like the curtain is dropping, Johnny Somali flashes that smug grin to the camera and shrugs it off like he's untouchable. Is it reckless bravado, straight up delusion, or could there be something darker bubbling beneath the surface? Because here's where the story slides from scandal into conspiracy. More and more whispers suggest Somali's ironclad confidence isn't just fueled by American ego or streamer narcissism. Some believe there's backing, strings being pulled in high places, quiet hands making sure he stays standing when logic says he should have already fallen. Why else, they ask, does he keep flaunting his U.S. citizenship like a shield? Why else does he strut into court, appealing to American consular officials as if he's expecting a hero's welcome instead of a sentencing? The arrogance seems less like bravado and more like someone convinced he's got invisible protection behind him. Even legal mindset, and the American lawyer dissecting every turn of this case claims he spoke to State Department sources who insist there's no cavalry coming, no safety net, no rescue mission. But then again, if something secret is in play, would the official channels ever admit it? Could there be another path? A whisper campaign? A backroom deal no one's supposed to see? Or worse, a government hand quietly guiding this chaos for reasons far bigger than one rogue streamer? At this point, it's not just about a loudmouth YouTuber finally paying for his antics. It's spiraled into a scandal with global stakes. Think about it. An American citizen accused of weaponizing cutting-edge tech, leaving a wake of cultural disrespect, public chaos, and even whispers of digital blackmail, all while hinting at shadowy protection from forces way above his pay grade. So the question lingers, is Johnny Somali really just a fame-hungry clown who flew too close to the flame? Or was he always just a pawn, a disposable piece in a bigger, darker game stretching across borders, live streams, and maybe even secret backroom court deals? Because if that's the case, then the next move isn't his at all. It belongs to powers we might not even see coming. As the Somali saga keeps unraveling in real time, the shockwaves can't be ignored. This isn't just the downfall of one provocateur, it's exposing the rotten underbelly of an entire online era. We're witnessing the hidden costs of the nuisance streamer age, where every reckless broadcast leaves scars far beyond views and clout. Businesses forced to lock their doors, employees walking out in disgust, whole neighborhoods turned into unwilling stages, thrust into the global spotlight as either punchlines or victims. What Somali called content is now being dissected as a textbook example of how digital stunts can warp real communities, strip dignity, and weaponize attention itself. And nowhere was this clearer than in Seoul, where locals didn't just endure his circus, they lived it firsthand. Exhausted subway riders blasted with propaganda music they never asked for. Convenience stores turned into battlegrounds over instant noodles and canned drinks. Sacred memorials desecrated just to feed the live stream circus. And now, the world is left asking how much real-world damage has to happen before we finally say enough is enough. South Korea looks ready to answer that question with vengeance. Authorities aren't just focused on Somali's personal downfall, they're using him as the line in the sand. The message is crystal clear. Humiliation, chaos, and clout chasing are no longer entertainment. They're crimes with consequences. Even lawmakers in the National Assembly are pushing for tougher penalties and new laws designed to crush this genre of digital spectacle before it spirals further out of control. As one blunt attorney put it, yeah, we need to hand down some serious punishment here. And he's right. This trial isn't just about Somali, it's about establishing a precedent, a future where countries refuse to let foreign clout chasers roll into their cities and turn them into disposable movie sets. And the ripple effect is already spreading. Streamers in the US and Europe who once bragged about their edgy IRL content are suddenly quiet, their live streams toned down, their chaos dialed back. Because they see what's happening in Seoul and they know this isn't just a trial, it's a warning shot heard around the world. If Johnny Somali dreamed of being infamous, he definitely got his wish, but not in the way he ever pictured. Even as the courts carve out his legal fate, the aftershocks of his chaos still ripple through Seoul. Locals report feeling unsafe at stores they once loved, families avoid subway stations tainted by his stunts, and workers can't shake the memory of being ambushed on camera while a foreigner hurled slurs in their faces. And it's not just about him anymore. The fallout is contagious. Other content creators are quietly scrubbing their channels, deleting old clips, and sanitizing their digital footprints like their careers depend on it. Because they do. Nobody wants to be the next headline or worse, the next streamer plastered on a government-wanted poster. But here's the deeper truth. You can't analyze the spectacle of Johnny Somali's implosion without exposing the culture that made him a star. The rise of these so-called IRL villains didn't just happen by accident. It was engineered, live, one outrageous clip, and one angry reaction at a time. Social platforms that love to preach about community guidelines were silently cashing in while the numbers spiked. Every time Somali trampled another boundary, the engagement surged, and the algorithms rewarded it. Hate streaming wasn't just tolerated, it was practically fed, packaged, and sold back to audiences hungry for the next train wreck. The platforms fed it, rewarded it, pumping the worst moments straight into the global bloodstream where every click became cash. For a while, there was almost a twisted brilliance in how streamers like Somali gamed the system. Provoke, escalate, monetize, repeat. The formula was disturbingly simple. If people were talking even in outrage, the numbers soared, and so did the profits. But it wasn't just the platforms counting the money. We were part of it too. Viewers watched, shared, commented, and turned every reckless stunt into a trending headline. Even those who claimed to despise everything Somali stood for couldn't resist the doom scroll, glued to his chaos like witnesses at a slow-motion car wreck. First came collective outrage, and then morbid curiosity. And finally, for some, actual fandom. The more hated Somali became, the more powerful he grew. This vicious cycle didn't just allow toxic behavior, it celebrated it. It created celebrities out of people willing to bulldoze every moral and cultural line just to stay in the spotlight. And now, with Somali's spectacular collapse, the reckoning can't just be about how to punish one reckless man. The bigger question is staring us in the face. Are we complicit in building the very villains we pretend to despise? It's an ugly question with no easy answer, but the evidence is everywhere. Algorithms pushed it, platforms banked on it, viewers fueled it, and Somali simply became the poster boy for a system that rewards destruction over decency. Now, as platforms scramble to rewrite their policies and law enforcement races to catch up, the real spotlight shifts to us, the audience. Because the story of Johnny Somali isn't just about one streamer's arrogance, it's a cautionary tale about the psychology of modern fame and the toxic culture that made his rise and his inevitable fall possible. But here's the twist. South Korea's response to Johnny Somali's reign of chaos hasn't been left to the courts alone. As his drama spiraled, something ripped straight out of a dystopian thriller began to unfold. Public bounties. On social media and local forums, Korean influencers and everyday citizens started putting up real cash for anyone who could track Somali down. One bounty hit 1 million and one won about $800 for information. Another, cold hard money just to teach him a lesson. What followed was a citywide game of cat and mouse. Every time Somali stepped outside, he risked confrontation. He was punched in the face live on broadcast, chased through crowded streets, and hunted by a growing army of amateur bounty hunters who were tired of waiting on the legal system. And every clash, every swing, every chase, clipped, shared, and celebrated online like highlight reels of vigilante justice. But here's where it gets disturbing. The lines blurred. Was this accountability, or were we watching Seoul descend into mob rule? At what point does righteous outrage mutate into chaos? Audiences cheered each hit like it was a video game, but these were real fists, real blood, real consequences. Legal experts are sounding the alarm, saying this may be the start of something bigger. A new era where public fury, supercharged by live streams and instant messaging, starts replacing actual due process. We've seen public backlash before, but rarely with this level of intensity and coordination. The chaos around Johnny Somali grew so wild that South Korean authorities themselves had to step in, warning both his pursuers and his defenders that vigilante justice would not be tolerated. The message was clear: punishment belongs in the courtroom, not the streets. Yet for many locals, the sense lingers that chasing him down was the only way to claw back dignity from a humiliation that never should have happened in the first place. And what about the man at the center of it all? Somali remains bizarrely defiant, still posting online as if his American passport gives him immunity. His so-called apology for mocking Korean history was torn apart as insincere, especially since he refused to even delete the offensive photos and videos from his accounts. Instead, he doubled down, fueling even more anger. At one point, he mumbled, "I just want to apologize for what I've done, and my behaviors did not mean to hurt Koreans' pride this much." But viewers weren't buying it. Most saw nothing but hollow words. And while he shrugs online, the list of allegations against him keeps growing longer by the day. Now, fresh rumors swirl about new digital evidence. AI-generated videos allegedly used as leverage against potential victims. If proven, that's not just scandal, it's dynamite in a courtroom already stacked against him. And some legal analysts believe the judges could go for a triple strike: massive fines, crushing civil damages, and a prison sentence stretching into decades. An all-in move to send a message worldwide. The age of nuisance streamers is over, and anyone trying to play Somali's game will pay the ultimate price. International reaction hasn't taken long to erupt. In Japan, the press is glued to the case, quick to remind audiences of Somali's earlier ban after his hateful anti-Japanese harassment went viral. Across Asia, legal experts are eyeing South Korea's prosecution as a potential model, a framework for how their own courts could slam down hard on foreign streamers who think chaos equals content. Meanwhile, American authorities have kept their distance, offering no lifeline, no diplomatic rescue, leaving Somali to face the fire alone despite his desperate appeals for help. The world is watching, and the message couldn't be clearer. The era of digital impunity is collapsing, one streamer at a time, and now the clock is ticking. Somali's court date looms like a storm cloud, the $10 million fine still unpaid, and prosecutors sharpening yet another stack of fresh charges. Whispers suggest possible violations under anti-terrorism law and even deeper accusations of digital manipulation. The travel ban hasn't budged. Somali is locked in South Korea with no real path out. His streaming career is in ruins, his infamy etched into the internet forever. And every move he makes is tracked by a mix of investigators and relentless online sleuths. And the buzz only grows louder. More witnesses ready to testify, more evidence piling up, more determination from prosecutors to make him the ultimate example. This saga is no longer just the downfall of one reckless streamer. It's a warning shot at every influencer who ever thought the world was their playground to mock, exploit, or burn for views. The countdown is in motion and the stakes now stretch far beyond Somali's name. So here's the question. Will Johnny Somali somehow pull off a last-minute miracle, or will his trial become the defining moment when the world finally says enough to the chaos for profit era? Is he just the first domino to topple or the scapegoat for an entire generation of clout chasers? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is bigger than one man. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that expose the truth behind the headlines. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter because in today's world, everyone is watching. See you in the next one.